Class of 2007.
Thank you, Dr. Sims. What a great job. Congratulations, everyone. Now, Mr. Matthew B. Blythe, orator elected by the class of 2007, will deliver the farewell address. Mr. Blythe.
This is a really good vantage point, so if I could get a picture. That's awesome. Okay. If you've never written a graduation commencement speech, what most people tell you is to open with a quote. I'm not an expert in the construction of these speeches, but I've been around enough to have noticed that generally they fall into two structural approaches that pretty much every student graduation speaker I've ever heard has adhered to very closely. The first is the traditional approach, where the speaker opens with a quote from George Washington, or Thomas Jefferson, or some other big name in Western philosophical thought. This approach has not actually been entertaining or particularly moving since about 1963. In the second and more modern structural approach, the speaker does a kind of postmodern thing where they complain about how they're supposed to use a quote from one of those aforementioned stuffy, uncool, old school establishment type guys. And since they assure us that they are an edgy, rebellious, free-spirited individual, they give pretty much the same speech. Only they quote Bob Dylan or Jerry Garcia instead. And this is supposed to be like their idea of really sticking it to the man.
I don't know.
I've decided to try and avoid that trap entirely by not quoting anyone at all. You're all smart people. I'm going to insult your intelligence by getting up here at your college graduation and giving you a graduation speech that sounds like someone generated it out of a template in Microsoft Word. You've already heard that speech a million times, could hear it at any college or high school in the country. This is Spring Hill. We have more elevated standards here. Coming as we do from the legacy of our Jesuit education, do you think Ignatius of Loyola, the guy who founded the Society of Jesus, for those of you just joining us, do you think he would have gotten up here and been content to spout some trite, platitudinous nonsense that was nothing more than a string of catchphrases? No, of course he wouldn't do that. And not just because he's no longer among the living. He wouldn't try to pull that kind of thing because he's Saint Ignatius. He doesn't quote people. People quote him. I'm just trying to live up to his good example. Because I think the world would be a much better place if we all tried to find our own words to describe the things we are actually feeling, rather than relying on the words of others to describe how we think we're supposed to feel. Here's the thing. Thomas Jefferson is dead. And he has nothing at all to say about our lives or what it means to me to be standing up here and talking to you today. What could he have to say that could possibly hope to begin to describe what all of us are feeling now? The complex, bittersweet ambivalence that characterizes such an occasion. This moment is very precious, and we've come too far and worked to waste this truly excellent moment on prepackaged emotions and sentiments assembled in a factory sweatshop. This college graduation thing is, after all, kind of a big deal. to the point of being almost miraculous. I wouldn't normally presume to speak for any of you, but the powers that be were quick to remind me that that is kind of what you voted me up here for. But I can say that for me at least, I can say with a bit of confidence that the 4 years I've spent at Spring Hill have been the greatest time of my entire life. It meant so much more to me than just a way to increase my future earning potential. In the time I spent at Spring Hill, I went from being that weird kid in the corner to being an actual, viable human being. This school was where I emerged from the shell I'd been in my entire life, where I made some friends who I really love and respect and admire, and I had some awesome teachers, and expanded my understanding of myself and the world around me. And what could Oscar Wilde possibly have to say about just how cool it was to go to a school that was so small that you could actually go to the houses of your professors, eat dinner with Dr. Caffer, or drink wine with your fellow English majors at Dr. Hafner's house? Or have Dr. Bordas give you a tarot card reading on the coffee table in her living room? It hasn't been all peace, love, and happiness. We've seen some pretty heinous stuff these last few years. 2 major hurricanes, the death of a much-beloved teacher, Dr. Allen, who I didn't know very well, but I did know that he liked my newspaper columns, so he was cool for me. We've gotten less sleep than is perhaps recommended by conventional medical wisdom. Yeah. And have dealt with plenty of personal crises of the small and large varieties. And there are plenty of things that I will not miss. For example, I will not miss driving on the roads in Mobile, which are terrible. All those intersections that empty into other intersections and stoplights every 5 feet, and those darn service roads that I still can't figure out, and those crazy drivers who seem to become more important, or more incompetent as the roads become more convoluted. But do you think Sophocles has anything to say that could possibly console us in our grief and discomfort and annoyance? Still, in a way, all that bad stuff kind of adds to the charm life. Or maybe it's better to say that it contrasts with the good stuff and makes the good stuff seem that much better. Even things that used to really bother me seem kind of endearing at this point. All the weird smells in the dorms, or that disconcerting blur effect that affects your vision when you go without sleep for too long. And even all the huge emotional drama was actually, for me at least, just starting to get interesting after kind of evolving past that Lifetime original movie type petty underclassmen nonsense into some really epic Shakespearean type tales of love and betrayal and scorn. Heck, I'll probably even miss that crazy genderless statue. Now, as the every man and every woman of our graduating class, and not just of the undergraduates, but the graduate and lifelong learning students as well, so shout out to you folks, it's my job to give you a proper send-off, a sort of war cry, hoo-ah, army kind of thing, to encapsulate your experience here, while inspiring you to go forth, onward and upward, to do great works with the knowledge you've been given. Honestly, I'm not sure I'm up to that task. All I can say is, you worked hard. Don't screw it up by being stupid. Don't screw it up by being stupid, and don't waste it by doing anything with your life that isn't completely and utterly amazing. Let's be a generation that constructs our own words, that doesn't just settle for whatever's already on the books to get us off and get us by. There's plenty in this world that needs fixing, and it would be oh so lame if after 4 years of struggle, we all just sat around watching TV and drinking and becoming jaded, uninteresting, overweight nobodies who use other people's words to justify all the dumb things they do. Your new lives are just beginning, so be sure to make the most of this amazing achievement. Now, I guess I better wrap this up because it's hot and I have to move out of my apartment by 5 o'clock or I'll get fined. I love you all. Thank you. And God bless.
Can you see why Dean Dayton and I were a little nervous? But as he mouthed to me, Matt, you pulled it off. Thank you, Mr. Blythe. In recognition of your selection as the senior class orator, the class of 2007 wishes to present this commemorative award to you. At this time, I would like to call upon the Reverend Greg Lucy, president of the college, to say a few words. Father Lucy.
I think I want to announce that in future speeches, I'm going to speak before the student speaks. Wasn't that terrific? Just terrific. Congratulations.